Hey guys, J-Man here with Steve and Sean, and we're counting down some franchises for, I got my sweater on, so we know what we're doing today. So every Friday we're doing some horror movies up until Halloween. We've done Child's Play, Phantasm, Friday the 13th, and now we're doing Nightmare on Elm Street. So as last time, we're going to do our best. And when I say best, I mean like, look, you want to watch a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. What are you putting in the Blu-ray player? And we're going to pick our weakest one. And then we're going to pick one that's kind of underrated in our opinion. So for this one, we're counting the first six. We'll count New Nightmare. We'll count Freddy versus Jason. We didn't count Freddy versus Jason in the last thing with Friday the 13th because I feel that it's more of a Freddy movie than a Jason movie, even though there's Jason kills in it. The remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm going to say we're not counting in this because if we are, it's an automatically the worst, easy for me. I'm not even sure if I really like that movie, and it's not really part of the continuity in any way. It's a different actor, so
It's the franchise still, though, but
yeah. Well, I mean, if we're counting it, then it's the worst. I mean, unless you. So that's not going to be very much fun. It's like the Child's Play. I don't think it's part of it. No, it changes Freddy's story. That could be a whole nother video.
It's part of a franchise is a franchise, so that it's not part of the series.
Okay.
Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, yeah.
All right, well, spoilers. The worst one is the remake. So we'll pick a worst one other than the remake. Okay, so Steve, you want to go first? What do you think? What do we do first? Underrated?
Yeah, underrated.
All right, so what's the most underrated one?
So for me, this is hard to say because I've always thought that the series sort of like started up here and it started to go like that a little bit as it went on, right? But I think part two, and I know that's a bit of a cheat because I think part two is liked nowadays. I was hearing that part two is like become like a lot more respected. But when I remember, especially when I was a kid, part two, everyone thought was ass. And I first time I saw it, I'm like, why do people think this sucks? Like, I really like the main actor. I think the idea of the werewolf idea, basically, like the guy changes into Freddy, is genius. Think of a part two where it goes to that degree, especially off something like part one and how it ended. Like, that's really hard to say that anyone would ever do that. And I just like conceptually, it's such a weird idea. Like, someone was sitting there and saying, you know what we should do? We should have someone turn into Freddy, or have him like become Freddy, like Freddy bursts out of him or whatever. And I'm like, that was such a great idea. And hats off to those guys for having the balls to do that, especially it has no connection to part one, right? It doesn't really feel like it. And I guess some people
wouldn't like diary or something, right?
Yeah. But I thought part two was like awesome and it stands out to me in the entire series. So part two.
All right. Sean, underrated?
I was between 2 and 5, but since Steve picked 2, I'll pick 5. Like, I don't think people like 5. I think people consider that the beginning of the decline after 4, but 5 is the big abortion movie. So it's like watching these movies again, they tackle social issues no one was really doing in mainstream mainstream franchises back then, right? It's like 2 is the big, like, I know that the screenwriter shoved in gay subtext and no one really knew what they were doing when they were making the movie, and it just all comes out in a film. And then there's the big like gender, like the girl saves the day in the end, right? She's like the Reagan era sort of man in that film. Anyways, part 5 is like, yeah, it's weird. I think there's only 3 kills in that one, and I think that continues on in part 6. But I like it. It's kind of fun. There's a lot of fun Freddy like special effects in it and stuff. And I think the movie comes out like pro-life, like that whole subtext of all the abortion stuff. Like, there's even like a big conversation between the girl and her family in it. And it's like, and that they weren't doing that in any mainstream thing back then. So that's all very interesting watching it now. I guess back then, as they say on the special features of these movies, it's like they're showing these movies to teenagers, and the teenagers don't want to think about this right now, right? But watching it now, it's really interesting, and I think it's underrated. I don't think a lot of people care much about that film, and I think it's pretty cool.
The poster for it is good.
Yeah.
The
Poster
posters
for
for
Lando,
one through five, all of the posters are bloody 10 out of 10, especially if you see some of the artistic ones. Well, we're on the same page, all of us. It was between 2 and 5 for me as well. I'm gonna pick 2 because
yeah, she was cool, man.
you know what, man? I loved part 2. Okay, so we got to go back here to where, like, okay, so when I'm watching this stuff, I'm not getting involved in the thinking of what's behind everything, or why did they change this angle, or this isn't the real Jason. It's like, whatever. There's nudity and killing, and I like Friday 5, right? Freddy, I like Freddy in this. I like this idea that he tried going through the dreams. That wasn't enough. He wants to possess a guy and come through him. And you've got the body, I've got the brains and all that.
Yeah.
That was wicked. Him actually coming like through the guy, like that's awesome.
That was amazing.
And the even part 5 is good too. I wanted to mention the abortion stuff, because nowadays everyone is talking about how whatever current movie is talking about some issue where literally Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation has addressed it all.
Yeah.
Everything that's ever been talked about in mankind has already been addressed way better in Star Trek The Next Generation. And in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child, apparently. So whatever. These people in their new movies, which is like, oh, this is great, and it's talking about these issues. We've already discussed them. We've grown up now, and we've moved on. It's like, anyways. But yeah, I like Part 2. I didn't even think it was that bad. I only discovered that people didn't like it later, because it's like when I discovered that people didn't like Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones. I'm like, wasn't that the best? I thought, like, I used to think Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was awesome. Like, I was like, Part 1 is awesome, Part 2 is awesome, and we'll get to the rest as we go. But yeah, I think Part 2. So let's do the worst or weakest. Okay, let's Sean. What's your worst?
Well, I rewatched them all recently, and I can safely conclude that Freddy's Dead really is worse than the remake to me. It's like the thing is, it's not as bad as I remember it, but like it goes way too. There's no tone to it. That new director, like, she didn't really know how to like tell a story. I mean, she was good on the technical aspects of all the movies, and then he said, "You direct this," like, fine. But what, I mean, he's playing Nintendo, and like, I think only one person, I think Breckin Meyer is the one that gets impaled at one point. But all the rest of the deaths are like, there's only 3 of them. They're cartoony. It's cheesy. There are some fun Freddy things in it. Like if you want to see more Freddy wackiness, it's in it. They didn't figure out how to kill him properly. I mean, that the whole thing, it's called Freddy's Dead, so the whole thing is built around that, but he has way better deaths than the other movies. This time out, the 3D, they blame the 3D thing for making the whole thing look lame, but you can think up like a better way to kill him, right? What you're stuck with is that his daughter, spoilers, like this counselor turns out to be the daughter, and Freddy rolling around on the ground, and the fight choreography is nonsense. They're just rolling around like they're kids, and it's like, is someone throwing a punch? What's happening here? And then he gets blown up, and then these Muppets come. So like there's these there's these dream gods, and they kind of look interesting in the carvings, but when they make the puppets for them, they look like they're like sperm or something. They look terrible, and they come in and they're like, ha 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 ha. They're all laughing like they're Muppets or something like that. It's not good. And it looks like it's got like a budget of like $5 and a banana. It's like there's hardly anyone in it. It's
Roseanne. Roseanna's in it.
Roseanne and Tom Arnold.
Johnny
are-
Depp.
But that whole angle doesn't make any sense to me. You're turning it kind of goofy at that point. It's like they're celebrating kids, but there's no kids. And like I guess that it's interesting in someone else's hands, but not here. It's just stupid. They have this carnival, no one's there. Like, okay, I get the message, but like I don't. You could have done this a better way. I don't know. Screw Freddy's Dead. Anyway.
All right, Steve.
It's a pretty hard act to follow. Yeah, I have to agree. It's part 6. When you watch the first 5 movies, regardless if you're upset at the tone, how it becomes far more jokey, you have to understand that they're still real movies. And part 6 doesn't feel like a real movie. The tone is all over the place, right? The world is ending, like basically it's all dark and all that. And yet, like, does he have the power glove in part 6? He has the power glove in part 6, right? He's like cracking jokes all the time. And I'm like, it makes no sense. A series is going down when a surprise relative comes out of the woodwork, in this case, the daughter, right? The 3D was horrific. Let's go into Freddy's brain. Okay, I guess we haven't done that yet. But it was just poorly done. It really is a slog to get through. It has none of the I don't know if you call it terror, but none of the sort of disturbing aspects of like the first 3. And it doesn't have the freewheeling mirth of 4 and 5. It has nothing. It's just there. And it's just a way to end. They're just like throwing it in there and saying, let's end the series. It's a horrible way. I'm glad that that wasn't the last Friday the 13th movie. Yeah. I'm Friday for the 1999 movie. Because that would have been a horrible way for the series to end. Part 6 is garbage. Even if we were including the remake, I might still agree and say part 6 is the worst. It's just bad.
All right. Well, not to beat a dead horse here, but yeah. I mean, okay, if we include the remake, if we're talking about like the remake is a bad Freddy movie.
Yeah.
But it's a better movie. It's a better movie than Freddy's Dead. Freddy's Dead is a pretty not great Freddy movie, and it's not a good movie either. Yeah. So the remake is a better movie, I suppose, but it's a bad Freddy movie. I don't like this. I don't like the angles they took in that movie at all. But in any case, yeah, Freddy's Dead is awful. Really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like, when I saw 5, I was like, it's okay. I like it. It's cool. It's neat. There's the comic book thing in there and all that. That's kind of neat. And then 6 was like, oh God, this is awful.
Yeah.
And did they forget that we watched the other movies because they're like, let's pull him out of the dream and kill him. Oh, right, because that worked in part 1.
Yeah.
Like, no, that doesn't work. We've explored this angle.
Yeah.
The only thing new they had was the daughter, which I thought was barf.
Yeah.
That was barf. I hated that. I don't mind something where it's like, oh, Elias Voorhees, and Jason Goes to Hell. Yeah, but we know that Jason has to have a father. We haven't seen him in all of this time. We could have presumed that he was dead, or we never, we don't know what the father's story was. They mentioned the father, but you don't see him. But we knew he had a father. Freddy never had a kid. So that's like literally introducing that out of nowhere. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, and I don't like that at all.
It doesn't fit his MO either.
It doesn't fit his thing. No.
Yeah,
no,
it's like, did they forget what the character, like, I know they were trying to forget what the character was, but like,
No. So yeah, it's just a fail. It's a fail. The 3D, whatever. Those dream gods, like, okay, sure. I mean, I don't care. He's got the power glove. Like, really? Any kid who bought the power glove already had a nightmare. So we don't really need to relive that through our movies. Okay, so the best one or your favorite. Steve, what's your favorite Nightmare movie?
Part one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got everything. Like when I first saw it, and I saw it more as an adult, and I didn't see it as a kid. I was shocked by how much I like Johnny Depp. I have no idea why. That guy was jokes in that entire movie.
Yeah.
And P.S. best death ever. He gets sucked into the bed. He's just a geyser of blood. Like that's awesome. The bathtub scene, classic. Always think about that. You know, just really enjoyed the entire thing. Freddy's actually scary. It's actually freaky what's going on. The ending is like super disturbing, right? Like they go into and then like, you know, the car drives away and I'm like, what the hell happened? John Saxon, underrated character actor, man. That guy was great in everything he did. He was terrific as a sheriff trying to figure out what's going on. Like Nancy, she was a great lead. I have no complaints. I even like the fact that they sort of did that swerve where they had the girl at the start and then she ended up getting killed, right? That was a great swerve, and that's not something you would have thought would happen. Just really great filmmaking. Wes Craven at the best, at the top of his game. Like deserves to be a classic 100%. You know, if I'm going to pop one in, it's going to be part 1 or part 7. Those are the two I'll pop in the most.
All right, Sean.
God. Well, so best is 7 to me. It's funny because the tagline for 6 was like, we saved the best for last. They really did do that, but not with 6. My favorite is 3. And I think it's probably a lot of people's favorites because that was the big, like, that was the one that that was a big high mark for that franchise. And like all the video games are based on it and stuff. And then like 4 was the highest grossing because people love 3 so much they ran to see 4. But yeah, 3's got all the big superheroes and stuff. Like it's kind of neat. Like I know they're all gonna get killed one by one, but it's cool that they all had like an individual power. It doesn't make a lot of sense because in your dreams you can do anything. But yeah, and the black guy survives. He dies in the next one, but so but I just thought it's when the mainstreaming of Freddy really began. It's what a lot of people refer to back then. It's like, you know, when they thought of Nightmare on Elm Street, they were really thinking about part 3. And it's fun. I can pop it in whenever. 7 is the best one though, I think. And it's like, you know, it's the first of those meta ones, but it's the smartest of them. Like smarter than any of the meta stuff that came after that. It's really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, 3 is my favorite. It's a no-brainer for me. I watched it 4,000 times. It's Kincaid who survives.
It's on TV all the time, man.
It was on TV all the time. It was my favorite poster. This with the guys.
Yeah.
And
they're on each one.
I liked Alice. Oh, sorry. Sorry, she's in part 4.
Arquette, you mean?
Yeah, no, Alice.
Yeah.
What was her name? Rosanna Arquette?
I don't know.
Patricia Arquette. Sorry, it's Patricia Arquette.
Yeah,
I liked her.
Recast her, yeah.
Yeah, I liked her, and then she passes her gifts on, but it's a different actress in the next one.
Yeah.
But, and then Heather Langenkamp comes back. Nancy. Yeah. She's cool. Yeah, I also like 4 because of Alice. I do like Alice is my favorite character in the series, but yeah, 3 is my favorite. It's for generic reasons, but really 1, 2, 3 are like 10 out of 10. Like I can watch any of them really. 3 is my go-to because of the powers. I like the idea that there's that you can have some kind of powers and try to fight Freddy. You know, it's the last one where Freddy is still pretty good. Like he's pretty scary. When he turns that guy into a puppet, that's really weird.
Yeah.
With the television thing, I always remember that.
He's vindictive and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, the welcome to prime time, bitch. Right?
Yeah.
So the first 3 is where Freddy is like, yeah, this guy is nuts, right? And then 4 is where it just he gets a little bit too weird, but Alice is really neat. And I like her getting the powers of each person as they die. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's
And
cool. Yeah.
5 is still okay, but 5 is where slightly things get a little
Yeah.
bit weird. And then 6 is just is horse shit. And then it gets okay. I think a lot of people have the impression that Freddy is silly and jokey throughout all of the movies, but
Mhm.
not really. He has
No.
the one-liners, but he's pretty nasty. It's
Yeah.
like he's kind of an asshole. It's not.
Yeah.
It's one of those characters like Jason looks cool, right? Like especially if you're looking at like part 6, 7, 8, like he looks awesome. Freddy
Yeah.
looks cool, but he's kind of a douche, right? And you're just
Yeah.
like, and it's hard to get behind him. Like because like look, we get behind the villains. Obviously, it's like
Yeah.
you want to see Jason, you want to see Michael, you want to see Pinhead, you want to see Chucky. But Freddy's just kind of a douchebag. You're like, I kind of like this guy, but he's an asshole. Screw you. And then when it gets to part 6, this is where they're hiding what Sean says, that they're hiding the fact that he's like this big child killer and the boiler room and all that. And he's like this jokey guy that you want to hang out with. It's like, yeah, I want to be cool like Freddy. It's like he's kind of an asshole and a total piece of trash. It's not even like Jason who's killing. Not that the killings are justified, but he's killing douchey teens.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Like Freddy was killing children and stuff. It's like, screw you, buddy. You're an asshole. So, so like that's the thing about Freddy. He became this big icon, and people are like, yeah, Freddy, but he's really the wickedest.
Well, yeah, they tried to move away from that
Yeah.
to mainstream him more. But yeah, no, it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like there are a lot of horror franchises now. I mean, there's a lot, and there are long-lived, healthy franchises like like Conjuring and like Insidious and all that stuff. But and kids are growing up with that kind of thing. But I don't think kids understand a horror movie as a phenomenon, like a horror movie series that's okay, fine, there's a lot of sequels, but this was mainstream. Like he was hosting MTV, he was
Right.
hosting award shows, he would like turn up and talk shows, and it's because the character could talk, and also he had a lively actor behind him too, right?
Mhm.
But like I didn't find my Fright Flick cards, the mostly Freddy images on those. He was in comics. He was in toys. They had a talking Freddy doll where you pull a string and he says something. It was crazy. I mean, it was huge. Like Ronald Reagan, like President Reagan would talk about Nightmare on Elm Street in his speeches. It was a huge thing, and I don't think that people understand that now. It was quite a large phenomenon. So, and his TV series too. That was
I was
big.
gonna say, so TV series Freddy's Nightmares, which I have the first episode on VHS, and I converted it myself to DVD. That had when he was like the Springwood slasher, and it had the whole trial.
Wow. Yeah.
Where it shows how he got off on the technicality or whatever, and then the parents.
And what was great about that series over the Friday the 13th series is that like Freddy's Nightmares had Freddy in it.
Yeah.
He
So
hosts it.
Yeah, it's like they shot that over a weekend, but like at least he hosted it and turned up every so often, so that was cool.
Well, the Friday the 13th series, I do like for the concept, not the name of what it is, because it's misleading. It's Jason.
Yeah.
But the concept of that was wicked. But
yeah,
like Nightmare on Elm Street, I would say, except for part 6 and the remake, just because I don't like the idea of it, the rest are fine. Like 7 is killer, as we've talked about. 7 was great. 1 through 4 are like 1, 2, 3 are 10 out of 10. 4 is like still like 8 out of 10. I love part 4. 5 is probably like 6 or 7 maybe, and then 6 is garbage, and then 7 is like 10 out of 10. Right back to being like, that was a wicked movie. The soundtrack is killer. I've got the soundtrack on cassette, man. I got the cassette tape soundtrack. The poster was great. This sweater, this is actually the new Freddy, like whatever you want to call him, the fake Freddy sweater from part 7. It's like, I loved part 7. So yeah, I mean, it's been, and Freddy versus Jason was awesome.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Freddy in that movie was on fire. Not, no pun intended. That guy was
yeah, I was gonna say, like, I was looking forward to that movie, not just because they're gonna fight, but also that was gonna be the first movie made with Freddy in it in the CGI era. Yeah. Because I think New Nightmare came out the year after Jurassic Park came out, so it was still using practical effects and stuff. And for practical, like 80s practical effects, like the Nightmare series was top notch. Like it showed off the latest and greatest they could
Yep.
do with animatronics and makeups and stuff like that. But that was the Freddy vs. Jason. I was like, what are they gonna do with CGI stuff? We've never seen that with Freddy before. And yeah, they had a worm and all that stuff. It was neat to see what they were going to do with that. That was the very first time that they made a Freddy in the CGI era.
And I remember, Sean, did you see that with me? I saw it 3
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, I saw it one of those times. With
Yeah,
you,
I saw it
saw
3 times. Yeah,
Did we see that in the States as
we
well?
did. That was like my
Yeah.
second time.
Yeah.
I had a countdown timer going at work. Like every day I was like, okay, it's 340 days till Freddy versus Jason, like literally counting it down. And Freddy was so amazing. Jason's my boy, right? But like Freddy was so great. And Robert Englund, it's like right back to classic scary douchebaggy Freddy. The jokes were there, but he was still an ass. And when he had that devil, remember he had the devil makeup?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
That's great.
That was freaking awesome. What the hell? That
did
was
you see
sick.
did you see the Goldbergs episode where he turned up?
Yes. I've seen
Yeah,
everything.
it's like the makeup doesn't age, of course, so like he doesn't look old. And like he's still lively,
He's
you know,
still
like
good.
you can make four now. You know, you
Yeah.
can make 4 movies now with him, you know. Yeah.
Right. This was my personal. I love Jackie Earle Haley. I think Rorschach is one of the best translated from comic to screen characters. Like, not better than Christopher Reeve, but like up there in the top like 5 or whatever. But and he's a great actor, but
It's too short.
You can't. Yeah, you can't. Robert Englund, man. V. That's a great series.
Yeah,
V and friggin' Freddy, man. You can't beat that guy. He's awesome. And he is Freddy. You can't, it's like there's a few guys. There's like, what's his face is Indy. There's Robert Englund as Freddy, like Leonard Nimoy Spock. Like these are like, you can't get someone else. It's just not happening. Like,
yeah. I mean, the remake just shit the bed. It was like Jackie Earle Haley, I thought he was actually a great choice for Freddy when I first heard that, and then I saw he was shorter than the lead actress, and I went, oh dear, because you need Freddy. Like that's the great thing about Freddy. The thing about Freddy is he preys on children, so you don't need a monster like Jason or something like that, right? Like you just need an average sized man. I don't think Robert Englund is like he's like thin and he's like maybe he's like 5'10", 6 foot, something like that. But he's preying on children, so it doesn't matter. You don't need a large man. But like when he was shorter than Rooney Mara, I'm like, ooh, that's bad. And Rooney Mara, look, I know she probably didn't want to do Nightmare on Elm Street, but like she looked completely bored through the entire thing. She didn't look like she wanted to be there. It rang through her performance. And the final girl is so important, in any of those movies. Like if you don't think of your favorite, like of any series, like, Friday the 13th Part 2, right? Amy Steele, Ginny, boom, strong performer. Heather Langenkamp, boom, strong, right? Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween, boom, strong. Rooney Mara, I don't want to be here. Well, then neither does the audience, right? Like that's the big thing. So, yeah, it was an okay constructed movie. It was just like really just a pale imitation, disappointing, and not worth watching again.
Yeah, I'm not mad at the movie. I understand what they were doing. I like anyone else would like to see just a continuation with Robert Englund in the makeup and everything like that. Look, I'll admit, like, yes, the angle they chose is something that everyone will debate. Is he a child killer or is he the other thing, right?
He's a molester.
But the thing about the movie that struck me was that once you drop that detail in, a lot of the things that I always had questions about in the old movies make sense. It's like why is he preying on the teenagers? I thought he was a child killer. Why isn't he going after the parents? They killed him, right? And all of those things do make sense in the remake. I know what they were trying to do there, but I don't know. Are you going to go there or not, right? And they went there, and then the movie didn't wasn't successful enough to warrant a sequel. The only thing close to that is probably Sinister, because the thing in that is a child killer. He abducts children and stuff. They made 2 of those. It wasn't very popular. I don't know if you can go back to Freddy anymore. I think people think about these things differently now than they did in the 80s.
Mm.
You know, it's one of those things that it's like in the 80s we were just beginning to talk about those kinds of things in the mainstream. And now when you think about that kind of thing, you're thinking about it differently with different emotions, right? I would love to have more Freddy and have the mainstreaming of Freddy that we used to have. I don't know if that can happen anymore.
You know what? Everyone's a stupid wimp nowadays.
Yeah.
And the horror movies reflect it. They're always
Mhm.
killing bad people. Like I love Saw, but it's always people who have wronged you or
Yeah.
the insurance
Yeah,
guys.
there's a
and stuff.
justification to it rather than like the
Right.
randomness of you can die.
Yeah,
You.
yeah, yeah. And actually the justification of it, if you want to get like into this big like philosophical debate, is kind of messed up because there is no justification for anything that Jigsaw does. It's like
No.
you can't put people in this position. Like I'm a Superman guy, like I'm a Superman kid. So I'm not killing anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's not happening. If you're killing anybody, it's over. Like, you know, so there's no, but yeah, now they're trying to make it like a justifiable thing. Well, they're kind of bad people, so it's not that bad. No, it's bad. And it's like, did Jigsaw kill people? Well, yeah, he does. He puts them in these traps and he wants you to survive. Yeah, but whatever. All these movies have become very wimpy, and it's always ghost stories or some bullshit like that, like
Yeah.
some haunted thing. Look, I liked, you know, Freddy, Jason, you know, like Michael, like this Halloween, this last Halloween was the only one we got that seemed like a serious back to basics. This is why everyone loved it. We're going to discuss Halloween next
We'll
week.
discuss it.
We're
Yeah.
discussing it next week. So tune in for the Halloween debate. And there's going to be a big one. We're going to need 4 videos for that.
Yeah.
There's too many movies to talk
I
about. Too many
got a take
angles.
on it. We'll debate it, but yeah.
Remember when Michael Myers had a cape and flew around? That was weird. So in any case, but yeah, now it's all about like, yeah, justifying this or getting your stupid PG-13 or I don't know what it is rating so that we can get as many asses in the seat so they can eat their popcorn. Be like, oh, that was so scary. Oh, that was so scary. It's like, no, it wasn't. Nothing happened. It's like now everything's like a scare and then nothing happens. It's like before there used to be a scare and Jason ripped your face off. And it's like, whoa, they don't reinforce fear in these movies anymore.
No.
It's all
Well,
very
there's no
playful.
suspense.
Sorry?
Yeah, there's no suspense, and the other thing too. Yeah, you're right. It's jump scares that don't have no consequence to them.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's like when is it which one is the one with those Japanese kids like that turn up
The
and
Grudge.
and it cuts to black? What are they even doing to these people? Like I don't even know. So what am I scared of?
Right.
This is what you learn from modern horror movies. Be afraid of everything. You walk down the hall, be afraid to walk down that hallway. You may see a shadow and then, you know, crap your pants.
Yeah.
There's
funny
nothing
because,
like the
Yeah, go on.
Invisible Man, which came out this year. Everyone's, ooh, it was great. I'm like, this is such horse manure. I can't even tell you. Like everything, like he's around. Yeah, but he's not doing anything.
Yeah, who cares? I know. Invisible Man, I'm not griping the movie and I didn't even watch it. And I like that actress. She's okay. But look, the guy develops invisibility and then he torments his girlfriend. Seriously? Like
Yeah.
the
Tell that,
Invisible
be
Man.
rich. Yeah.
Yeah, like what was the original Claude Rains? 1930 something? 1931?
Yeah.
Okay, this is outrageous. In that movie, this is outrageous. In that movie, he's like, I'm going to murder everyone and cause like chaos and destruction. He's like, we'll murder a few people here and there. We're gonna cause a reign of terror. And you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. And that's 1931. Flash forward to 2019. I'm gonna torment my girlfriend and really not do anything. Huh?
Yeah.
This is what the Invisible Man has been reduced to?
Yeah.
The Invisible Man in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comic book was raping nuns. That's that Invisible Man that you want to beat the shit out of. The Invisible Man who's tormenting that girl, you're like, okay, well, just arrest him, or I don't know, put out a restraining order. Like, what is this garbage? It's like, punch him in the face. It's like, if that Invisible Man comes to my house, I'm gonna kick his ass in. It's like, he's a loser, Invisible Man. It's like, oh, what did you do with your invisibility? Oh, I tormented my girlfriend. What did you do? Oh, I raped nuns at an it's like, oh, okay. What did you do, Claude Rains? I'm murdering people. I'm gonna cause a reign of terror and like rule the world. It's like, oh, perhaps my aspirations are low. Like, this is your whole.
I love watching millennials react to horror movies this month.
Yeah.
Like I love like watching them react to stuff we grew up with, but like they're reacting to these horror movies and they're super duper stunned. It's like they've, you know, like they're sick to their stomach watching like, you know, Alien and like and freaking The Thing. The Thing shits their pants, man. It's like they, you know, was it The Exorcist? Like they're super stunned by that, right?
Yep.
This is stuff we grew up with on TV. It's like, you know, but these are like real horror movies, and yes, as I said before, there are tons of horror franchises right now. But yeah, but it's nothing compared to like these old movies. They're super stunned by them.
The new It movies, which are toothless. I was sitting in the theater, It Chapter 1 finished, and this woman was sitting near me, and she was like, "Oh my God," because it said Chapter 1, and she's like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "What, did the man moon you? What happened?" Nothing, because it wasn't anything in the movie. There was a clown. He walked around a bit. That's what happened.
Yeah. You know, we should do we got 2 minutes left, not to turn this into the It show, but you know, Pennywise is the most ineffective killer in the history of horror. He's killed like one kid. It's like, dude, like, you eat kids. Why couldn't you get more of them? Like, kids can't do anything. Freddy nailed a shitload of them before they captured him, and Freddy killed more kids before his movie started than Pennywise has in his entire lifespan. It's like, what a loser. If that clown comes through, he's going, you know what he's going to turn into? He's going to turn into my boss at work or something. That's what he'll turn into. That's the only thing I fear. You know, and here's what Pennywise will look like in today's audiences. He'll look like the COVID virus thing or not.
Yeah,
He'll look like the COVID.
The ball with the little red things coming out of it.
Yeah. They're like, no, I can't take it. It's like, you know, when we like, for us, we were like, yeah, Pennywise was like a week. You're like, yeah, Pennywise, yeah, that's a kid's movie. It was like the kids movie.
There's a TV miniseries, so you saw it like right on your TV. Right?
Yeah,
it was for kids. I thought that was a kids movie. I legit thought that was a kids movie. I was like, oh, he's got, you know, Pennywise. I'm like, yeah, but can't you just punch him in his face? Like, I don't get, like, you can't punch Freddy in his face.
No.
Anyway, well, final word, you can't punch Freddy in the face. You can punch Pennywise in his stupid clown face. All right, guys, that'll be it. We will see you next week for Halloween, baby. Oh yeah. All right, see you guys.